So, Pap, you have had quite a whirlwind over the past several months. I can't believe, I mean, and frankly, I want to talk to you about all of it. I mean, you've got a new fiction book coming out. You've got your first fiction book, I should say, too, and you're launching a new television program in the fall, and you have meanwhile been winning another of what I believe is going to be. I mean, you tell me, you would certainly know better than I, but I think this is going to prove to be the largest, if not one of the largest pharmaceutical cases or I should say cases that defeat the pharmaceutical industry in the history of the country.
Yeah, well, let me, before we get to the pharmaceutical end of it, this first one was an environmental case where they used, I think that might be the one you're talking about, the environmental
case. Right, I'm sorry,
case.
yes, the environmental case.
The DuPont case was one where I think what it does, Sam, is it defines what I call the expendables. The expendables in America are the people who drank the lead water in Flint, Michigan. The expendables are the people that live along the Gulf Coast in New Orleans, around New Orleans, where they have to suffer from cancer from all of the toxins that are thrown out in the air into the water through the refineries. The expendables are the people typically in low-income areas that are struggling to make a living, and they end up taking whatever kind of jobs they can get. And the chemical industry, by way of DuPont up in the Ohio Valley, initiated that same type of expendable program in a place called Parkersburg, West Virginia. It was a place that for a long time was fairly depressed because the jobs just weren't coming there. And then all of a sudden, DuPont comes in and says, well, we're here to save you. Well, what they didn't tell you was that they were making a product that they knew absolutely certain would cause cancer, and it would be a latent cancer that would not only kill the people who worked around the product, but it would kill people who lived within the vicinity of where the product was used. Teflon, first of all, throw all your Teflon pans away. This was a case that it makes it very clear that C8 that's used to make Teflon causes cancer, along with a whole host of other problems, neurological problems, a whole host of problems. But in this case, this was a man who had a testicular cancer. It was one case, and a man had testicular cancer 15 years ago. And the reason he had it, Sam, is they were dumping the C8 waste into his drinking water. They were unloading in the Ohio River alone close to 1 million pounds of C8 over a period of time that they knew was going to end up in people's aquifer. They knew it would cause cancer to children. They knew it would cause birth defects. And so this stuff right now is all over the country. It's not just in Parkersburg, West Virginia. It's something, Sam, that stays in people's blood for 25 years. It stays in the environment 5 million years, according to their own experts.
Wow.
And they knew all that when they were doing it. There's no way we can get rid of it. Matter of fact, they're still finding it right now, finding it in polar bears in the Arctic. And it's so ubiquitous. It's a disaster. But DuPont is a criminal corporation. There's no other way to put it. I don't know why they haven't been prosecuted for this. Well, I do know why. I know why they haven't been prosecuted, because they have so damn much money, and they've been able to buy their way out of the political aspect of it. They absolutely knew that they were polluting people's water. They absolutely knew it would cause cancer, and they were making more money than they could spend in the process of doing that. But that's the new expendable idea. There are people out there that it's okay to kill, and that's the way DuPont looked at this case.
And frankly, I mean, it's just a calculation for them, isn't it? And we should say C8 is a chemical that is used in the process of making Teflon. It's not. Well, it's not by design in the Teflon, but I guess there's some question as to whether or not there's enough residue in there. But like you say, it's in all of our blood at this point because it is so resilient and durable of a chemical. And this is a classic case, isn't it, Pap, of a corporation just basically saying, look, we could spend X number of dollars to do this the right way, to get rid of this chemical, if there is a way of even getting rid of it. Or, we could spend, it would cost us Y amount of dollars to not use this chemical, in that we wouldn't have this product, whatnot. But instead of paying that money, or instead of taking that hit to our profit, we're just going to basically make the people who live around us pay for it in the form of their health, their lives, any type of medical costs they have to pay, the environment in terms of the health and lives of livestock, or the safety of our food supply or whatnot. This is just basically offloading what would otherwise undercut or cut into their enormous profits, and just saying, like, we want it all. We're going to make other people to pay for our profits. And if we ever get caught, that's just the cost of doing business.
In other words, if they pay their way out of this with a couple of $1 billion, they've already made, $50 billion. So it's a cost of doing business. I was so moved by this particular case. It's interesting that we started off with that, because I was so interested in the conduct in this case, that it motivated me when I first started looking at this case to write a fiction novel called Law and Disorder. And although it's fiction, I think what I've tried to do is I've tried to incorporate what I've learned in the last 35 years handling these kinds of cases against, whether it's the pharmaceutical industry or the energy industry, the oil industry, Wall Street. I've taken those parts, and I've taken them and distilled them and put them into this book called Law and Disorder. And the reason I did it, Sam, is I think people don't really understand what's happening to them. They can try to go out and find out. You don't find it on the nightly news. You don't find out that a corporation is killing you and your children. You don't find it in the headlines of most newspapers that Wall Street is, raping the entire nation of their pension programs. You just don't find those stories, or that a pharmaceutical, it may cause your child to lose their kidneys. Those are the types of things we run into every day. And so what I did with this book, even though it's a fiction, it's a thriller, it was my hope that you'd come away from it and understand something. You'd learn something. You'd say, oh, my God, does this really happen? And then you'd check it out and you'd say, yes, it does really happen. It happens all the time.